Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I'm interviewing somebody else for the team after this. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to the beach. Excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, there's something I missed there. But anyway, so today, what I want to talk about is I want to bring one of the questions or topics from an amazing man in the Powerful Man community. You've also seen him in the Bedroom Rainmaker group. He's been taking a lot of action. His name is James. So the question he has for us is maybe there must be a limit when it's time to let the marriage dissolve, or maybe when it should. Like her cheating or her completely being frigid like an ice queen. How long should you apply this stuff if there's no results on her end?
Okay. Let's run with this, Tim.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, initially, when I read this, the question itself is an example of why there's no results. I don't mean that to sound harsh, but hey, when should I call this a day? Hey, when should I do this? Hey, when should I? When should I? When should I? It's like, look, you have to make that decision, and that comes from your own standards and your own boundaries. Nobody can tell you when to do that. And if you are wanting somebody to tell you that, then that displays a lack of trust in your own intuition and your own instinct. And if that's the case, and then somebody else tells you to do it, it's kind of like, oh, well, they said so, so you don't feel as bad, right? James, you get to take a stand for what it is you truly desire, whether you want to be with her or not. If you want to be with her, then you get to be with her. If you don't want to be with her, then don't be with her. But you get to take a stand for what it is you want and create some boundaries here as well. Well, I say boundaries. Once you take a stand for what it is you want and stand by that, by default, there is going to be a boundary. And that's what people respect about people. They respect what it is they stand for. Yet, if you don't have any boundaries, then it's very difficult to get any kind of respect from people, right? Because essentially you become a bit of a doormat. And then the other bit to this is, how long do I apply this if I see no results on her end? Well, honestly, we have men that go through the program who do the work and really take ownership for their shortcomings in the relationship. And they know that they are doing all that they can, and the relationship doesn't turn around because the wife, she might have just checked out. Maybe they've left it too long. Or maybe in some cases, they choose that they don't want to be in the marriage anymore. And for those men who continue to do the work, and they do the work because they see the importance of doing the work for themselves, first and foremost, not in order to win her back or whatever it is. They see the value in doing it for them because they value their own growth and development. Well, it's those guys that often go on to literally turning women away. Now, that might sound like a big claim, but we literally have men in the brotherhood and in a circle that go through divorce and take with them into the next chapter of their lives. We have a chapter in our private community called The Next Chapter, just for men that have been through divorce. And they take into the next chapter of their lives these new perspectives and these new understandings and tools that are given within the activation method. And they become magnetic to women around them. And they're very upfront and honest and open and say, hey, look, I've just come out of a relationship. I'm not looking for a relationship, but, I'm willing to have some fun if that's what you want to do. And straight away for the woman, you'd think that would push her away, but that's even more attractive and sexy because it's a guy who knows who he is and knows what he wants. And as a result, often these men end up dating several women at once, and they're very open about this. And sometimes they end up calling it all off, and they just say, hey, look, guys, I just don't want to be dating anyone right now. And what impact do you think that then has on the women? It makes them want them more. And they don't do it to make them want them more. They just do it out of genuine honesty, and they don't continue the relationships. And we've also had guys that have gone on to get into other relationships, and those relationships are created around so much transparency and authenticity that they then have the kind of connection that they were seeking in the previous relationship, because they also attract a woman that is also into her own growth, that understands the importance of development, because that's the level that they're operating at. So it all starts with you, brother, taking a stand for yourself, what it is you desire, and pursuing that for the right reasons. And wherever that lands, that lands. But at least you know you've stood by what is true for you. And if you have kids, that's the best role model you can set for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Tim. When I first heard this question, the first thing I thought about is, well, what do you want? Like, do you want to be in the marriage or not? And if you want to be in it, you love your wife, the common thing we hear from some guys is like, look, my wife and I both love each other. Right. And then ... fill in the rest. If you both love each other, I think it's worth working on. Right. If you're both in it, then work on it. This particular guy, I don't think has been through the activation method, has he?
No.
Yeah. And so that's your first thing, man. Look, we try to give away as much free advice as we possibly can. But the truth of the matter is the activation method by itself is really the key. Like, you need to get yourself into an activation method. There's just no doubt about that. So that gets to happen in a major way.
I love it. So let's cover another whilst we're, because that ended up being relatively short. So let's go to the next one, which is David, which I think is an interesting one. And David, he's asking, what are some examples? This is a really interesting one. What are some examples of some useful, meaningful, pragmatic shadow work for men? And I think this feeds into the previous question. I know where my mind goes immediately. I guess.
So what would you say there, Tim?
Gonna sound so biased. The alpha reset. The reason why I'd say the alpha reset is because there are other exercises we can give, and we do give men. It's part of them going through the activation method. And there's a difference between something being logical and visceral, right? And shadow work, whatever you think in your mind, you feel in the body. So if you've experienced the 5 agonies, for example, you find yourself in no man's land, you've experienced the 5 agonies, or you're experiencing them, you've got emptiness or greed, anger, shame, loneliness, and isolation, right? Oh, sorry, uncertainty. That's the 5th one. But the thing is, whatever you're thinking in the mind, you feel in the body, right? Emotion is energy in motion, and it cannot be destroyed or created, it only changes form. Therefore, if you've had certain thoughts about yourself, for those of you that, just to back up a moment, shadow work, shadow is the darker side of your personality. So if you've had certain thoughts around, things you should be doing or you're not doing, or you could be doing better, and you're beating yourself up, and you experience guilt, you experience shame and the other agonies, then yeah, it's great to be able to go through some of the exercises we give the men in the activation method as some logical steps to start seeing what that shadow actually looks like, what that side of yourself looks like, and how it influences you, so you can detach from it and have it stop controlling you subconsciously. Some great things you can do. And the faster route to that is actually going in to the shadow itself and dealing with the emotions by getting to the root of them and literally transforming the emotions of anger and guilt and shame into peace, joy, empowerment, excitement. And that's a visceral thing. That's part of the reason why day 2 on the alpha reset runs for as long as it does. It's a very long day, but it's also a very effective day. And it's because the men are going through these certain exercises that are very experiential. So the fast route is the alpha reset. The slower route is other shadow work. And I'll name one. We give the men something called the shadow stick man. I won't walk through it now, but that's one that we give them.
Yeah, I was going to definitely say for shadow work, I think experiential work, whether it be through the alpha reset or something else, is the way to go. Otherwise, the problem with doing shadow work on your own is your shadow is doing the work, right? Your shadow is involved with you. And without that outside perspective that's designed, and we're not the only ones, the powerful men that do shadow work. Um, I don't know of any off the top of my head, but I do know there are other organizations that do it. So you want to find somebody who you trust, first of all, right? Because shadow work is very important. And then also who's got proven results, because you can't see the forest from the trees when you're doing the shadow stick work, or we call a shadow stick man, but just the shadow work. And it's part of the reason that even the activation method, the groups are small, right? We keep all of our groups really small because we know that your ego is going to kick in, your subconscious is going to kick in, and it's going to run the show for you. And you're not going to get to the depths that you really want to get to, above and beyond. And that's where a coach comes in. But more importantly, my opinion, based on my experience, is doing something that's experiential that will allow you to push through those barriers.
Yeah. I want to elaborate as well, because we may not have been absolutely clear on the shadow side. So, if you ever experience feast to famine, right, whether it's in your health or business or whatever area, and you are doing well, then all of a sudden you might hit an upper limit and you come crashing back down. You can't seem to quite get above the upper limit. There's self sabotage that is going on in any area. Then usually the reason for that is it's the shadow. The shadow's coming in, and subconsciously there are patterns there that the darker side of you is playing out, and they're destructive in one way or another. So, like Doug said, you've got to do shadow work with somebody. It's an absolute must. Otherwise, for sure, your subconscious mind is going to be influencing whatever work that you're doing. And I'm sure you're a smart guy. You're going to know the ways that you can trick yourself. You just are. So, yeah, I think that's enough on that one.
Awesome. So guys, keep going over to the Facebook group and posting your questions. That's where we're getting these from. We've got a lot of questions in there, and they're fantastic. And make sure you're just being active in that group. We have a couple communities going on, but the main community is where you want to post these questions. And Tim and I will get to them as soon as we can. Gentlemen, that's a wrap for us today at the Powerful Man Show. As always, in the moment insight, take massive action, and we'll see you next time on the Powerful Man Show.